at one point the werewolf goes missing, and the cops come in and they're like, "Well, where is the werewolf?" And Christina Ricci's like, "You can't miss her. She's she's got a fat ass, and she's and basically she's baiting the werewolf, and the werewolf gets pissed, like jumps out of nowhere and gives her the finger, like calls her a liar. A werewolf screams liar and just throws up the bird. Um, so that's a heartbreaking moment because it's like, what is this movie?
What's going on, everyone? 2025 is the 20th anniversary of JLCM Crappy Movies, and we're taking a look at some of the movies from JLCM Crappy Movies. So, Joe, what are we talking about today?
Today it's Cursed, the Wes Craven Christina Ricci movie from 2005, 20 years ago. It's a werewolf movie. Phil, do you like werewolf movies?
I, I mean, I guess in theory, I like werewolf movies. I don't know that I can actually say that I've watched one.
Well, yeah, you're like, my favorite werewolf movie is.
Because as you were forming the sentence, I was like,
Uh-oh.
have I actually watched a movie with a werewolf in it?
Really? Like don't
I
you have
can't
a
name one,
don't you
but
have
that
a
might just be my memory.
don't you have a Team Edward tattoo from Twilight? That's a no. No, you've never seen any of the Twilight movies.
The only part of the Twilight movie that I've seen was I think the first one, and I was in a restaurant and they had it on a TV.
You've mentioned this before, yeah. Um, and there was no werewolf in that scene, so you're like, turn it off.
Yeah, as far as I could tell, no werewolf.
Well, that's fair. Um, yeah, so this was like a disaster and is regarded as a movie that had a lot of potential, but really just fell apart. Um, Christina Ricci and Jesse Eisenberg play brother and sister who, yeah. Oh, you didn't know Jesse Eisenberg was in this, Jim?
So the only thing I know about Cursed is what you told me just now. Like Wes Craven, Christina Ricci, werewolf is those are the three things I know about the movie.
Holy cow. It gets so much better than that because it's Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson reteaming for the
Oh,
first time since
Scream?
since Scream. So the team is back, and they got Rick Baker on special effects, and they got Christina Ricci, a bona fide Scream queen, leading their movie. And it's like Scream in that it's stacked. Like the cast is just like full of recognizable faces. Um, but that all falls apart. Not because like everyone did their best and the movie turned out bad, but the the company basically didn't like what they were doing and fired some of them and reshot, and it went to hell. But before we get into that and before we get into spoilers, I'll just say it's like a horror comedy about these brother and sister who get attacked by a wolf and become wolves, and it's like, or become werewolves. So it's sort of them learning to deal with it, like Teen Wolf style. Like they're having all these strange changes in their body.
Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2. I've
Yeah,
watched both of those.
yeah, okay. I mean, there's a that's a real high low, and for the werewolf community, you get the best and the worst. Um, but it's also because it's Kevin Williamson writing for Wes Craven. It's like the hip new take on werewolves, and like it's it's like it's not your granddaddy's werewolf movie. Um, so that's the big pitch, and it's supposed to be hip and awesome. Um, it's a Miramax film, and the Weinsteins were running it, and Bob Weinstein really he's been the one that I've seen pointed the most fingers at, who really didn't like what Rick Baker was doing, so he fired him. Like Rick Baker, like Rick Baker, he had said in a DVD commentary that he wants to um, have another crack at the a practical effects version of the transformation that he did in American Werewolf in London. Because now with all he's learned, he's like he can do it better. So Bob Weinstein's like, you can do this, and then he did, and Bob Weinstein's like, no, go away. Uh, and there was so much pressure and so much oversight that Williamson left after a while. He had to agree to write another movie for them to let him go. That's how bad this was. And even Wes Craven was basically strong-armed into doing it. Um, so there's all these talented people there that maybe don't want to be there, and it's a shame because I love Scream, so I was ready for this. I was like so excited for like a cool hip werewolf movie. That's weird to say out loud, but I was excited to see what they would do with it. I was excited to see how they would spin it on its head and introduce new things to it. It doesn't do any of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, it it doesn't introduce new ideas about like how to kill a werewolf or like um how werewolves pass on the curse or
Yeah, you would think with like Kevin Williamson, like because he was the writer of Scream, and Scream is such a meta commentary about like horror movies, you would think that he had some sort of maybe not meta, but like a new take on werewolves.
exactly. And that's really what I was hoping for. But it doesn't deliver. It doesn't deliver that at all, really. It what it does deliver is Craven's really great at like big casts and red herrings. So the mystery is there of like who's the main werewolf and how do we find them? Um, and that juggling act is fine, and it is at times gory and creepy, even though there's three different cuts of it out there. One's R-rated and one's PG-13. I don't know what the other one is. So you might not get gory or scary. You might just get, I don't know. But it does have tone problems. Sometimes it plays too silly, and the writing is really bad. Like the dialogue is terrible. I was so excited for Christina Ricci in this because she's royalty. She like even just like her royalty credentials are a little weird because they're basically the Addams family and Casper, but she's technically horror royalty, and you know she gets Sleepy Hollow, but like she was definitely looked at as like a goth kid that you know this would have been awesome if it had hit and she would had like she would become like associated with this the way that like Nev Campbell's associated with the Scream franchise, that sort of thing. Um, but she's as much as I love her and I love her in tons of stuff, she's not good in this movie, and it's hard. It's hard to watch her spit out nonsense. um, it's also the early aughts, so there's a lot of like weird homosexuality stuff in that like there's one character that's bullying another character by calling him gay. Uh, and it turns out to be that he's a closeted homosexual, but it's awkward. The bullying is super awkward. And then they're like friends at the end. It's weird. um, in this rewatch, this is the first time I've seen it in since I saw it in theaters. That's not true. I probably saw it once or twice since then, but this is the first time in a while. And I went in sort of hopeful, like maybe this is so bad it's good, or maybe it's better than I remember, or maybe it's cooler than I remember. There are definitely things I forgot, but it was as bad as I remember. It didn't hit it.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even know where to start with a Wes Craven directed, Kevin Williamson written movie about werewolves. But like, was it a breakdown in, I don't know, like, because you said the acting wasn't good in it. Um, you said that the script didn't seem to be good. Do you think it was like uh the studio wanting too many changes?
I
Like,
mean, if you ask the creatives involved, that's what they would say for sure. So I tend to lean on them because it sounds like they were all just like weighed down by it and like reshoots and reshoots and reshoots to the point where they had T-shirts made that said "Cursed Four back for more," like when the crew had to come back for a fourth time. But there were so many reshoots that entire parts of the story were left out. It was originally three people that were bitten by werewolves. The third was Skeet Ulrich, and he had finished shooting. He was done, and they're like, "Come back," and he's like, "No." So they cut his character out. So it's things like that that are just so crazy. And in 2005, like no one was like, "Hey, this is a mess." Everyone was just like, "Why?" Like after they would see it and they'd be like, "Why is this a mess?" But like 20 years later, you get all the dirt. It's just so sad because
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those movies that could have been, but it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've heard other stories of the Weinsteins like forcing like a creative direction for the movies that they produced.
But you would think that they would let Craven and Williamson cook, like let them do what they're going to do. But you would think they would earn a little wiggle room, especially with something new and fresh. But
Although I guess there was a 10-year gap between Scream and then Curse because Scream is 96, I want to say.
Scream was 96. I wonder if Scream 3 had come out at this point because they're all like, "You have no good faith
Oh.
anymore." Even though I
Um,
don't think the writer worked on that one. I think it was a different
Scream
writer.
3 did definitely came out because it came out while I was in college.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Um, I will talk a little bit spoilers. Um, so spoilers from here on out. I remembered who the main werewolf was because it's spoilers. It's Judy Greer. Do you know who Judy Greer is?
Oh, Judy Greer, yeah.
Of course. So she plays this sort of like rival to Christina Ricci's character in the movie, and so they butt heads a lot. And then at the end, it's revealed that she's the werewolf, and they have a fight. And at one point, the werewolf goes missing, and the cops come in and they're like, "Well, where is the werewolf?" And Christina Ricci's like, "You can't miss her. She's she's got a fat ass, and she's and basically she's baiting the werewolf, and the werewolf gets pissed, like jumps out of nowhere and gives her the finger, like calls her a liar. A werewolf screams liar and just throws up the bird. Um, so that's a heartbreaking moment because it's like, what is this movie? What is the tone? What are we doing? Why is it coming here? The worst thing is for me rewatching this was I remembered that. I remembered that she was the main werewolf and everything. But then after that, she's not. Look, there was another ending where another werewolf is revealed, Joshua Jackson.
Oh,
Yeah,
Pacey?
who for me is yeah, who Pacey. Yeah, who for me was wasted in this movie. He's just kind of like he's typical like boyfriend suspect sort of the whole time. He's very Skeet Ulrich in Scream, where Skeet Ulrich is around and has a couple scenes, but he's only there to be um, a a primary suspect. um, so he turns out to be a werewolf too, and I was like, I can't believe I didn't remember this part. Um, but I don't know. All of it should have been better, and it's heartbreaking to be reminded that it's not.
So you mentioned that there's three different versions of this movie, PG-13 one, an R-rated one, and I'm assuming like an unrated one or whatever.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I don't know. I heard that there's a few different cuts going around, but like, yeah, yeah.
Is it possible that you saw one version in the theaters and then another version 20 years later?
I can't imagine it would be a completely different ending. No, it, no, it can't be. Although the ending with Judy Greer is, with that fight scene takes place in like a big, like kitschy sort of nightclub with like all these like horror icons and stuff. So it would have been a nice finale as opposed to the Joshua Jackson fight, which takes place in the kid's house with their werewolf dog in the other room. Yeah, see, it's weird shit like that.
Hey, Werewolf dog?
Maybe, maybe I said werewolf dog. You don't have a werewolf dog? Um,
No pets.
no pets. Just to give you an idea about difference in rating, though, I mean, the crew originally thought that they were going hard R, like they did with Scream. But then the Weinsteins wanted them to pull back for PG-13. But one of the scenes where Shannon Elizabeth from American Pie um, gets attacked, and like her torso gets thrown over the bushes, and so the main cast is like now looking at her from the navel up, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And then she starts moving, like she's still alive.
Oh.
Yeah, and and like you're like, "Oh my god, die faster!" But then she like flips over and starts crawling up the hill. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, this is it. Make peace with your God. Like you saw that, and it was that. I mean, if you're a horror fan, that's kind of cool, even though it was mostly CGI. And if you ask people about this movie that love this movie or hate this movie, they will debate the practical versus CGI effects situation. Where I mean, Rick Baker was fired, and they went almost full CGI, and some of it looks terrible, which
Yeah.
is a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame with especially with CGI because with practical effects, I feel like they age better than CGI effects do
That's true.
because at some point CGI, like even though it's like cutting edge at the time, like a couple years later, it could look really, really bad.
Really bad. Yeah.
It sounds like Cursed uh is a victim of that.
There was a point in time where Hollywood found out a way to do digital blood. And so like all these movies had blood just splattering all over the place. And there was a contrast issue where it was like too dark.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it in like 5 or 6 movies the same summer. And I was like, the blood's it's like it's not working. But you don't see that anymore. So I mean that's a good I'm just saying that as an example for what you were saying. Technology ages and you see a trend fade or whatever, but I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
All right. So, I mean, you answered most of the questions that I normally ask, which is, do you own this on DVD or Blu-ray? Which you don't. It sounds
I
like.
don't think I do. I mean, there's a chance I own it on DVD, but I feel like I would have watched it more and remembered that Joshua Jackson ending. So I don't think I own it.
So, if you don't currently own it, if you saw it for sale, like what price would you be like, I'm buying it?
Okay. So
Is
when it
there any
came
price?
time, what's that?
Is there any price
Is there
where
any
you'd be
price
like,
I
I'm
would
buying it?
pay? Is there any price I would pay to get Cursed today? No. I mean, maybe if the Blu-ray was $1, maybe. A week ago, when it wasn't streaming on Paramount Plus and when I couldn't find it anywhere, and I knew it was coming up in the JLCM movie rewatch, and I was like, I found myself. I was like, I really want to watch Cursed. um, if it had been $4.99 on like a Apple or Vudu or to buy the streaming version, I would have paid $4.99 for it because I wouldn't want to rent it for $3.99. That's I would want to pay
Terrible.
the extra money to never watch it again in my library. So that's the magic number there. I would have, but I really don't think so now. I think I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm like, is that the last time I'm ever going to watch it first? And it might be.
So not 20 years from now, we're not when we do this again.
If we make it, buddy. If people are like, "Hey, we're those old guys that talk about movies."
All right. So my last question for you is, if people are looking for something like Cursed, but they don't want to watch Cursed, what's a movie that you would recommend?
All right, so I have a couple, if that's okay. And I was struggling to think of ones originally because I was like, "Oh, if you like Wolfman movies, there are good ones. There's not a ton. Like it is American Werewolf in London. Is the best. It's so good. And Teen Wolf. Like I grew up that was my werewolf movie, and like I loved it. I've rewatched it. I've rewatched it since. There's some questionable stuff, but I still love it. I still love Michael J. Fox, and I love everything it does with like wish fulfillment and things like that. There's a little of that in Curse too. The sort of like, you know, I'm I'm gonna be a tough, cool guy. There's no one gets bit in Team Wolf though. Like it's weird. Like it's like how is this transferred? How is everybody getting the anyway? That's a that's for a Teen Wolf discussion. So Teen Wolf I would recommend. American Werewolf from London I would recommend. But I was looking for something more modern. I was looking for something that did what it was trying to do. I mean, if you're looking for that aspect of it, then watch Scream. Scream really does that. It does the meta take, the fresh new take on an old idea. It does that. So if you love that vibe, watch Scream. But if you want something werewolf specific, I couldn't think of anything, especially super modern. But then today, I watched a movie called Hard Eyes, which came out this year, earlier in the year. Um, and it was very fun, and it was the right balance of scary and funny that I think Cursed never could find. But I was like, oh, that was fun. What else has this director done? And he directed a movie called The Werewolf Within, which is a werewolf movie that is super fun.
I watched that movie.
Yeah, you've watched that movie before. Yeah, you're like, that's one I know. The longer this podcast goes on, the longer your werewolf resume gets. So I would do that. I mean, if you want the vibes, watch Scream. If you want a great classic werewolf movie, go American Werewolf in London. If you want something captures the thrills and the scares and the fun, go Werewolf Within. It's really good. And then watch Hard Eyes because that was really fun too.
Nice. Oh, and I did remember, I don't know if this counts as a werewolf movie. Probably not, but Thriller.
um,
He transforms into a werewolf there.
is it? Yeah, I guess he is. He is a
I guess
werewolf.
it's technically the movie that they're watching. He transforms into a werewolf.
No, he does it. He at the very end he transforms into too. Like I don't know. Wait, so in Thriller, they're watching a movie where he transforms into like a ghoul, right? He's like a zombie.
I thought he transformed. Well, I think they're watching a movie where he's transformed. Well, they're you don't know it's a movie that they're watching, but it's Michael Jackson turning into a werewolf, and then you find out that like Michael Jackson and his date are watching this movie, and then they're walking home, and that's where the most of the video is.
Is that right?
Um,
I guess I don't
yeah,
remember this as much as I remember. But his traditional Thriller look it's not a werewolf, it's like a ghoul, right? But
yeah, that's the walking home part, like
that's the walking home part. Okay.
the real
The
life
mo-
part of it, I guess.
the real life part, the one where he turns to camera at the end is like, "Oh, turns out
Yeah,
I'm a monster." But is he a
yeah.
werewolf there?
I don't think he's a werewolf. I want to say his eyes just glow.
Is there any werewolf in that?
I mean, maybe I don't know.
What if like you go into Thriller and you zoom into the background? There's one werewolf doing the dance. One, yeah. What if it's Michael J. Fox? He just happened to be around that day in costume.
All right, Joe. Any other thoughts on Cursed before we head out?
I mean, I've said it a couple times, but it's a heartbreaker. Should have been better.
A shame. Anyway, well, if you have any thoughts about Cursed, if you've seen Cursed or any other werewolf movies that you think I should see, put them in the comments below.
If you've seen Cursed, but you don't remember either of the endings,
Oh, and if you've seen the PG-13 or the R-rated cut and what the differences are, we'd like to know.
let us know the
I would
better
like to know.
choice. Sure.
And be sure to like and subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one.